the man himself, Ben VP, Ben Holmes, coming to us live out of Vienna, Austria. Ben, what's up, man?
What's up, guys?
Oh, looking forward to it.
All right, Ben, so you just got back to Vienna a couple days ago, right? How you doing? Are you jet lagged? How's your adjustment?
No, I'm pretty good. Last year I had a schedule, and this year I just tried to stick to it. So it's been good.
There you go. He's a savvy vet. It's year 2 in Europe. This guy knows what he's doing. All right, Ben. I don't want to start off too glum, but I'm very curious here. Just to start off the championship game last year. Obviously, you guys had a great season, made it to the championship game. I know I'm going right on into it. I'm sorry, but. Obviously, was a disappointing end for you guys there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's probably left a bad taste in your mouth going into the offseason. But what can you take away from that game, and what did you and the team kind of learn from that experience?
I think Ryan is, the level of where you want to be, I believe, and, we're working towards that. And, I think it showed us, maybe we had to get punched in the mouth to kind of reinvent ourselves a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's the short answer. The long answer, I think, is, get to the top. Sometimes you might have to get punched a little bit, so.
Sort of like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back sort of thing. I mean, you guys are bringing back a lot of great guys and having some continuity there, and also adding some really nice pieces. Talk to us a little bit. How has your off season been going? I know you were back in the States. Saw you were in Texas a little bit. It's your alma mater, Tarleton State. How has your off season been going? Okay, he's repping.
No Texans hat. No, it's been good. That's where we bought our house. Me and Jen, and the whole staff is there. My head coach, Coach Witten, the OC, the O-line coach. Everybody's there. So when I go back to Tarleton, it's like I'm going back home. You know what I mean? So they were super welcoming. They opened the doors for me as soon as I got there. They were like, "Come into every meeting if you want. Use the weight room. Eat the food, whatever you want to do, it's all yours." So it was nice. And then, got to pick their brains a little bit, see what they do on offense now. That's maybe a little bit similar to what we do and maybe a little bit different. How can we add, to our scheme, if you will. And it was just good just to be around football for, the off season. Some guys leave and go somewhere else, but,
Well, it's really cool to be able to have that type of relationship with your alma mater and be able to go back to it like that and have it feel like home. And we got in the chat here, I don't know if you saw, your biggest fan in the entire world, Alex Malchow, is in the chat. He's saying, MVP, let's go, my dog. Matt, you got a question for Ben?
Absolutely. So you played North America, you played in Canada, you played in Europe, and me and you talk regularly. You talk to me about how much you've enjoyed your stay at Europe and how you're in your second year. You've extended your family as well. Congratulations for that. How has Europe been in terms of a footnote in your career?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I needed a fresh start, and I think I got that here in Vienna. I think I was in the rat race of, a journeyman type quarterback, going from USFL to Arena League to, maybe some other sub-development leagues, and then finally in the CFL. And I was just like a little hamster on the treadmill, just trying to, stay above water, and try and be that, starter, second string, third string, practice squad, back to second string. It was like, okay, at some point, like, I want to be the guy again. You know what I mean? So Coach Kalaikai reached out at probably the most perfect time anybody could have reached out. And it was just, I was kind of done being, and I didn't know anything about ELF, as I've expressed in the past, but he was like, "Nope, you'll be our guy. You you come over, you're our starter." And I was like, "Okay, I'm in." So, and I think coming over here, it's just been, like I said, breath of fresh air. And, I can kind of not reinvent myself, but maybe write my own story, and have a little bit more of a say in my story,
I love that, man. That's awesome. And Coach Kalaikai is one of the greats out here. We've been out here for 20 or so years. Fellow Oregonian, my home state, by the way. Shout out to Coach Kalaikai there. Ben, one thing that we talk about kind of on this show and just when we're talking about ELF football is we oftentimes like when a team gets a quarterback who has some European experience, whether they played in maybe the German league or the Austrian league or what have you, because that really, really seems to help with their adjustment to the ELF. You, on the other hand, this was your first year ever in Europe. And, you know, it's a big adjustment, not just on the football field, but in life as well. But you were able to have such success right away when that's not so common with the quarterback position coming to the ELF. You talk a little bit just about your adjustment to Europe. What were the big adjustments for you, and how were you able to have such a smooth transition, at least on the football field?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the second part of your question first, because I think it's easy because I think like you guys say, the Vikings are such a prestigious, organization. So I think I really lucked out and made the right decision in the end, because, when I first signed, I got a call from Nikki, right? And she was like, I'll handle everything for you on the media side, so you don't have to worry about that. And then I get a call from our guy Leonard. He's kind of our DFO. He's like, hey, I got your bags, your flight, everything. It's taken care of. This is when you're getting in. This is when you're leaving. So it's like you can kind of just relax and not have to like worry about that part. And then when you get here, everything is pretty much here for you. Like you have your room. You know where you're going to eat. You know how to travel. You know how to get to the train, and there's somebody there with you. So you're not doing it by yourself. Like my biggest fear was like, how do I get on the train? Where does it go? I can't speak this language that they speak, but just the organization makes it such a smooth transition where, maybe as some organizations, they don't have that, component to them. I won't speak on different, clubs or whatnot, but, maybe that's, some guys when they're first out of America, they're like, okay, kind of nervous, obviously, and maybe there's not someone within that organization that's kind of like, here you go, like we're going to help you. They're just kind of there and expect them to be the great import that they signed them to be, but sometimes it doesn't always work out like that.
Yeah, I mean, the Vienna does a great job with kind of that transition for the imports and lets you really adjust smoothly. Matt, you had a question about sort of the Raiders and the Vikings?
I do a little bit. So, of course, naturally you could expect we're going to ask a little bit about the Raiders. It's a rival. It's been a rivalry forever. The Vikings have won every single game in the ELF against the Raiders. This season, they're not in the same conference. You guys play in the East, they play in the South. Are you expecting them to be in the playoffs? It's a tough conference. They got Munich, they got Madrid, and there's them, and then there's also, of course, Helvetic. Realistically, how are you feeling about the Raiders' chances this season?
Oh, that's a good question. I think they could be a good team. I think they could be a playoff contender. It's just a matter of what their identity is going to be on offense. I'm not too sure. I know they have a stable of running backs. I know they have a pretty good O-line. I know they got some weapons on the outside. So it just depends on if they can all come together and, play as a team. And one thing I really like their head coach. I think he dials it up on defense. I got a lot of respect for him in that regard. But the Raiders are the Raiders, man. I don't like the Raiders, so I'm not gonna be any locker room material for them. But we'll see, and I know we'll give them a good battle when we see them both times. So it's always an exciting week when you go against the Raiders, and we hate them and they hate us, and that's that.
Hey. It's one of our great rivalries, not just in the ELF, but in all of Europe. Okay, and so it's a very historic rivalry, and hopefully you guys can remain undefeated against your rivals in the ELF this season. I'm curious, Ben, because you're always talking. You were first team All League last year, quarterback. What other quarterbacks in the ELF do you admire their game, or you think, okay, that's a good quarterback? I'm impressed by this guy. Anybody else jump out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to start with Jadrian. Like when you talk about, where you want to be as a team, and like when you look at yourself in the mirror, where you want to be as just a player, and the success that he's had, it's, you can't not notice it. I mean, he's won 2 championships, was MVP of 1, I believe, and I think his year with Hamburg, he was in the championship. He's just had success, and what I admire about Jadrian is he got into Europe when he was pretty early in his career, and he's developed into the player that he is now, which is really cool. So he came and kind of said, "Hey, I'm going to learn this game, if you will," and he's taken it to the next level. And then I go with Riley Hennessy. I think for what they do on offense, I think he fits their Jordan Newman scheme. I think he gets the ball out of his hand really quick, makes the right decision, doesn't have a whole lot of turnovers, gets the ball into his weapons' hands, and he seems like a good guy, like a good human being, and that's what you got to be as a quarterback. And then you go down the list, and there's guys that do good things, and this year will kind of be the year of the unknown, if you will, with some of these guys. There's huge upside in the signings and whatnot, and but you never know, because a lot of them have never played in Europe. You know what I mean? So we'll see, and a lot of them haven't really played football in a long time. So we'll see how they transition into that. But again, you just gotta get lucky with a good team, and it's honestly tough to come over here and have success right away as a quarterback, because you got to go to a good team. You know what I mean? And I was fortunate enough to go to a great team, but a great organization. So
yeah,
I hope that answered your question.
yeah, no, you did, man. And I can support the fact that Riley is a good guy. Okay. Yeah. Matt, you got another question for Ben before we let him go here?
Yes, my last one. Of course, I'm a player personnel guy. It's what I'm known for. So you look at the Vienna Vikings receiver core and tight end core and running back core. There's a lot of touches you need to give to these talented players. You could argue maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. Some people might think they want more touches. Some people might be saying so-and-so's getting too many touches. How do you manage that as the quarterback and as the American leader of this team?
Yeah, sure. Well, too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm the cook. You know what I mean? And these guys are, they're going to get served with whatever they get served. You know what I mean? And I think this room is very unselfish. And you got great leaders in the room. And, it starts with our OC, Coach Nick, and then it goes to probably the best wide receiver coach there is in Europe, and Coach Kuzi there. And he does a really good job of controlling the room, controlling that type of room where there is so much firepower. And then you got leadership like Yannick and Beer Bomber. And I always talk about the homegrowns, then I forget that Reese Horn's on our team. So it's a really stacked room, but, I think they're all, unselfish enough to where they say, hey, I might not get touches against Prague, but I'll get touches, on another game. You know what I mean? And if you treat the game well, the game's going to treat you well back. So you just got to be patient. I'll be the one out there deciding, kind of who gets the ball and whatnot. So please don't yell at me. That's what I always tell them. I'll come to you eventually, and when you're called upon, just make a play, and then we'll keep rolling. So, but all these guys are so supportive of each other. Like even in practice, I was able to watch the last homegrown practice, and no matter who's making a catch or how they're doing it, everybody's kind of high-fiving and cheering everybody on. So it's been great.
There we go. The lead cook, the chef, if you will, of the Vienna Vikings.
Yeah.
Ben Holmes, Ben VP, man, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yes.
Congrats on all your success, man, both on and off the field, everything you're doing, moving through life. We're lucky to have you back in the league. We're all thrilled to have you back here. Good luck this season, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.